Good morning. I read or paged through, reading here and there, the book Sacred Reading again this weekend. And the importance of having a fixed routine were highlighted again, and I do feel like I'm all over the place at the moment with my practices, so I'm going to try to ground myself again. Let's see. And I used to love having Plato in the morning, so let's see. Protagoras, day 4. Hippocrates here is one of our citizens, son of Apollodorus. He comes of a great and prosperous family, and is considered the equal of any of his contemporaries in natural gifts. I think he is anxious to make a name for himself in the city, and he believes that the most likely way to success is to become a pupil of yours. So now it is for you to decide whether you think this calls for a conversation between ourselves or with others. Anxious to make a name for himself in the city. Socrates probably speaks exactly the truth here, although when he spoke to the young man by himself, alone, he mentioned that it was actually about the care of his soul that he was trying to seek this teacher. Many of us, maybe, I imagine, pursue learning, knowledge, insight and wisdom more for the sake of making a name for ourselves than for the sake of the knowledge, insight and wisdom itself. Treating it as a means to an end, and it instead of the end of our means, the thou. I appreciate your forethought on my behalf, Socrates. A man has to be careful when he visits powerful cities as a foreigner, and induces their most promising young men to forsake the company of others, relatives or acquaintances, older or younger, and consort with him on the grounds that his conversation will improve them. Okay, so Protagoras here is saying what Plato / Socrates often say. So already I think we are set up for a positive view of Protagoras. Such conduct arouses no small resentment and various forms of hostility and intrigue. Personally, I hold that the sophist art is an ancient one, but that those who put their hand to it in former times, fearing the odium which it brings, adopted a disguise and worked undercover. Well, that's cool. Teaching silently. Some use poetry as a screen, for instance Homer and Hesiod and Simonides. Other religious rites and prophecy, like Orpheus and Messawus and their school. Some even, so I have noticed, physical training, like Icus of Tarentum and in our own day Herodicus of Selembria, the former Megarian, as great a sophist as any. Music was used as covered by our own Agathocles, a great sophist, and Pythocleides of Chios and many others. All of them, as I say, used these arts as a screen to escape malice. I myself, however, am not of their mind in this. So it's quite a list of people. He now gives us his voorgangers. I'm just going to start using Afrikaans words if I don't know the English. I don't believe they accompanied accomplished their purpose, for they did not pass unobserved by the men who held the reins of power in their cities, though it is on their account that these disguises are adopted. The mass of people notice nothing, but simply echo what the leaders tell them. The mass of people notice nothing, but simply echo what the leaders tell them. Now to run away and fail to escape, but be discovered instead, turns the attempt into sheer folly, and cannot fail to arouse even the greater hostility. For people think that the man who behaves like this is, in addition to his other faults, an unprincipled rogue. So what's the use of hiding if they're going to see you anyway? I therefore I've always gone the opposite way to my predecessors. I admit to being a sophist and an educator, and I consider this a better precaution than the other, admission rather than denial. I have devised other precautions as well, so that if heaven will forgive a boast, I come to no harm through being a confessed sophist, though I have been many years in the profession. Indeed, I am getting on in life now. So far as age goes, I might be the father of any one of you. So if there is anything you want of me, I should much prefer to say my say in front of the whole company. A very long way to say, I don't want to, let's have an open policy. Thereupon, suspecting that he wanted to display his skill to Protagoras and Hippias and get some glory from the fact that we had come as his professed admirers, I remarked, then why should we not call Protagoras and Hippias and the people who are with them to listen to us? I'm wondering if Socrates is, because Socrates is still a little bit young here, if his suspicions of Protagoras are grounded. By all means, said Protagoras. Would you like to make a regular circle, said Callias, so that you can talk sitting down? Everyone agreed that this was the thing to do, and at the prospect of listening to wise men, we all eagerly took hold of the benches and couches with our own hands and arranged them beside Hippias, where the benches were. Meanwhile, Callias and Alcibiades got Protagoras out of bed and fetched him along with his companions. And to the prospect of listening to wise men, we all eagerly took hold of the benches and gathered in a circle. When we were all seated, Protagoras began. Now that these gentlemen are present, Socrates, perhaps you will say something about the matter you mentioned to me just now on this young man's behalf. That's kind of how I it's a game I started to play in order to be able to watch Voices with Viveki and other dialogues, pretending that I'm drawing my chair closer to the circle of wise people speaking. And of course they're not going to pay attention to little old me. What do I know? I'm just one of the spectators. I can only begin as I did before, by telling you of our purpose in coming. Hippocrates has a feeling that he would like to become one of your followers. He says, therefore, that he would be glad to be told what effect it will have on him. That is all we have to say. Oh, this is getting really good. Then Protagoras replied, Young man, if you come to me, your gain will be this. The very day you join me, you will go home a better man, and the same day the next. Each day you will make progress towards a better state. So he's going to lead him towards the good, he proclaims. On hearing this, I said, Protagoras, what you say is not at all surprising, but very natural. Even you, for all your years and wisdom, would become better if someone were to teach you something that you didn't happen to know. Oh, so learning as a means of becoming a better person. Don't answer like this, but give us the kind of reply that Hippocrates would get if he suddenly changed his mind and took a fancy to study with that young man who has just lately come to live at Athens, Xiphippon the Heraclean. Suppose he went to him, just as he has come to you, and heard him say the same thing, that each day he spent with him he would get better and make progress, and ask him the further question, what shall I get better at, and where shall I make progress? Xiphippus would say, in painting, or if he were with Protagoras of Thebes, and having heard the same reply as he got from you, went on to ask him what respect he would get daily better by being with him, Protagoras would say, in playing the flute. Now give a similar answer to the lad and to me, who am putting the question for him, Hippocrates. By becoming a pupil of Protagoras, will, on the very day he joins him, go home a better man, and on each successive day will make similar progress. But towards what, Protagoras? And better at what? Protagoras heard me out and said, you put your questions well, and I enjoy answering good questions. Then he came to me, that when it comes to me, Hippocrates will not be put through the same things that other sophists would inflict on him. The others treat their pupil badly. These young men, who have deliberately turned their backs on specialization, they take and plunge into special studies again, teaching them arithmetics and astronomy and geometry and music. Here he glanced at Hippias. But from me he will learn only what he has come to learn. What is that subject? The proper care of his personal affairs, so that he may best manage his own household, and also of the state's affairs, so as to become a real power in the city, both a speaker and a man of action. So, economy and politics, it seems. Do I follow you? Said I. I take you to be describing the art of politics and promising to make men good citizens. We will listen to Protagoras' response tomorrow, because tomorrow is a public holiday in the Netherlands. Happy birthday.